Nothing like relaxing with some freshly baked bread after a hard day's work blowing up TNT in the nether. Huh? What's that? I did? Are you sure? Well, I guess I'll have to make another video then. It turns out there were quite a lot of features that I missed in the last video, so I've decided to make a follow-up to include everything that I forgot last time, and just a quick thank you to everyone who left comments letting me know really cool things about the game that I missed. First up, we have one of the most iconic blocks of Pocket Edition Minecraft, and one that I have fond memories of myself. Back in the early versions of Minecraft Pocket Edition, it was impossible to go to the Nether using a Nether portal, and so to allow players to be able to obtain Nether exclusive blocks like netherrack, quartz and glowstone, the Nether Reactor core was added to the game. One of the coolest looking blocks in the game. It was used by building a Nether Reactor out of cobblestone and gold and then placing the Nether Reactor core in the middle of it. It would then spawn an obsidian structure around the player known as a Nether Spire, although it was later changed to be made out of netherrack. Items such as cactus, seeds, mushrooms, paintings, glowstone dust and reeds would then pop up out of the ground. Zombie pigmen would also spawn inside the spire. The core was crafted with 6 iron and 3 diamonds, and it also had different textures for when it was placed and then activated as well. When the Nether was eventually added to Pocket Edition, the Nether Reactor core no longer had a purpose, and so the crafting recipe was removed from the game, along with it being able to be found in the creative menu. However, any reactor cores that had already been placed remained in the world. Another old block from Pocket Edition that was removed from the game was the old stone cutter block. It was used to craft all the stone types and was crafted with 4 cobblestone. It was later removed as all the items gotten from it could be crafted in a crafting table, but the idea was brought back with the new stone cutter, which had a different design and crafting recipe, and is in both Java and Bedrock editions of the game. A cool feature from the indev versions of the game is the starting house. It was located in the centre of the world, and inside were chests that had every item in the game in stacks of 99, including blocks of water, lava and bedrock. The house was originally made of mossy cobblestone blocks, and it was the only way to get them in the game. The design was later changed to oak planks and stone before being removed from the game altogether in indev, as the survival aspect became more important for the game. Cogs or gears were a feature that were almost added to Minecraft in indev, and were only able to be placed on the side of blocks. They had a cool design but were never given a proper use as they were only leaked as a possible idea for the game. In the end they were replaced by redstone and never fully implemented into the game. These removed mobs are now iconic for Minecraft indev and were used for tests. They would spawn in the world but had no movement animation and would instead glide around. These mobs also had drops such as apples, roses, gunpowder, flint and steel, and string. These mobs were eventually scrapped when the developer working on them left the development team in 2009. The human was another scrapped mob, this time from the classic version of the game. They were passive and could be spawned in by the player by pressing G. They would do nothing except run around the world. Chickens have been in the game for a long time now, but their early mob AI meant that they would intentionally find and jump on pressure plates, which I suppose could be used to create some interesting redstone builds, so maybe I'll have to try that out in my own world, but it was an interesting feature. A big feature that almost every player takes for granted now is sneaking, but did you know that it wasn't always in the game? Sneaking was only added in Alpha 1.1.1. and before that building high up was a lot more challenging and resulted in a lot more deaths. Another one of these features is beds, which weren't always in the game and only added in beta 1.3, and so before that there was no way to skip the night. Also interesting is that you used to have to make sure that the area around your bed was lit up with torches, otherwise hostile mobs could spawn and wake you up in the night rather than skipping to the day. Ladders have an interesting history too. In the early versions, 7 sticks only gave you 1 ladder as opposed to 2 now. And they could also be spaced out 1 block apart and still be usable. This resulted in some annoying issues though when it was fixed and players had to go around and fill in all their ladders, but the crafting recipe was also changed to give 2 ladders at a time, so it evens itself out I think. Back to the indev version of the game now for a really early feature. Before furnaces were added to the game, to smelt items like sand, you had to throw them into lava or fire, and this resulted in a really cool popcorn effect where the items were not destroyed but bounced up and down until the player picked them up. Again, this feature was removed once furnaces were added as a proper way to smelt items, and lava since then destroyed items when thrown into it. I'd like to quickly talk about a feature I included in my last video now, and that is how squids used to be able to be milked in beta 1.2 and beta 1.3. I didn't explain why, but it was because when added to the game, squids were coded with the same code used for cows, just with the model of a squid, and the developers forgot to remove the milking code. so that's why they were able to be milked before that feature was then removed. A more well-known feature now, but one I'll include for those who don't know. Zombies used to drop feathers in alpha and beta, and it was only in beta 1.8 when rotten flesh was added that zombies started to drop that rather than feathers when killed. Also back in the old versions, the build height only went up to 128 blocks, and so builds were much shorter, which encouraged players to make bases more sprawled out rather than taller. Fire was also a lot more dangerous in the older versions of the game, as it used to spread very quickly and players had to be careful using fire or lava in their builds, as once fire began to spread it was very difficult to stop. This happened in my world, and I had to rebuild a large part of my base, as a stray lava block led to my base being burnt down almost completely. When some blocks were first added to the game, although they are now unobtainable in survival, items like spawners and even end portal frames used to be able to be collected by the player in survival. You could mine mob spawners with a silk touch pickaxe, and to get end portal frames you had to blow up TNT near them, and then they would drop. End portals when first added to the game also used to look like this, which is pretty interesting. TNT in the older versions also used to be ignited by hitting it before flint and steel was added, and this meant it couldn't be removed when placed, so you had to be very careful when using it so you didn't accidentally place it somewhere like inside of your base, which could be very bad. If you opened your inventory or swapped to third person when in a boat, the player's hand would glitch and be tilted until they opened their inventory again or went into third person again. This glitch was in the game for years until it was eventually fixed. The 3D anaglyph feature was also a really cool and unique feature that was later removed. It allowed players who had 3D glasses on in real life to play Minecraft in 3D, which was a really cool idea, although I guess it didn't really have much of a purpose. It feels a shame that it was removed, as it was an interesting feature. Before booster rails were added to the game, to use minecarts effectively, you used to have to build minecart boosters along your track to maintain the speed of the minecart, and to start them moving other than pushing them downhill. This is why in my own alpha world, which doesn't have booster rails yet, I prefer to use boats to get around, as it's less expensive than crafting minecart tracks and boosters. Boats also used to have the cool feature of quickly floating to the surface if they were submerged in falling water, and this allowed me to create a cool boat canal system in my world. Winter mode was an old feature back in alpha, where when creating a new world there was a 1 in 4 chance for the world to generate in a permanent winter, where it snows constantly, and this was the only way to experience snow in the game before it was added into normal worlds, with the inclusion of biomes which brought the snow biome. Weather was also only introduced in beta 1.5, before that there was never any rain, snow or thunderstorms in your world. Well, there you have it, even more forgotten Minecraft features. Hopefully you enjoyed, and if there are still some features that I missed, please let me know. Have a great day and hopefully see you in another video. Goodbye.